Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am Kelly Bowen, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Welcome, everybody. This is Emma Romano and the delicious
Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to Inspired Conversations. Where were you on that, Em? I was waiting for you to
Hey, wait, let's do it again. And you are listening to Inspired Conversations.
Well done.
With the flow. I know a lot of our listeners actually listen to this, but if you can, jump onto YouTube and watch, because you want to see my background today. I'm heading off to Egypt for a whole month next week, and I've literally got Isis wings sitting behind me. I feel very regal. Anyway.
Spectacular. And mind you, her jumper says Queen right across her boob. So she's got angel wings protruding out from her side in this beautiful Queen jumper.
So yes, Queen.
Very opulent.
So today, my loves, Kelly and we just put a post up saying, hey guys, we're doing a podcast tomorrow. What do you want to hear about? And quite a few people wanted to learn more about integrity and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, we are the queens of integrity and leadership. So we're going to share our magic stories, how to help you out with it. What does it actually fucking mean? All those things today. So it's going to be a really juicy topic. So buckle in, put your belt on. It's going to be a big one.
Probably going to get a little bit pokey and prickly at times because I find leadership's one of those, when it is working, it is awesome to be a leader. And when it is not working, it really sucks because you kind of have to hold everything and hold the ship together and be that calm in the storm. And then also then there's that level of cognitive dissonance that you've got to face off with as well. The difference between who you are versus who you really are versus who you thought you were, and that psychological pain in that growth period can literally feel like swallowing razor blades. So let's jump in.
Okay, first off, integrity, what does it mean? So I've just Googled it. In the dictionary, it says the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, the state of being whole and undivided.
Mm-hmm.
So in relation to business, now, Kelly and I have two different businesses. Kelly is a finance coach, helps support and mentors people in business to get really amazing, high-paying clients and really boost you. She's my mentor. She's my business mentor. And my business has gone fucking gangbusters. Is that the word?
Gangbusters.
Yeah, gangbusters. Right?
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. And the reason why it's so easy to work with Kelly is because we hold our integrity and we hold our principles, we hold our values, we hold all of it. And to be honest, I'm going to actually explain a story that's been happening recently.
Before you jump in, I want to put in one key thing that you and I both promised each other at the beginning, because we transverse through many different spaces. We transverse through a friendship, we transverse through the podcast, and we also transverse in a professional space where my business supports your business, and I've also been mentoring you. And the one thing that Em and I promised each other at the beginning was that we promised that we'd never fawn to each other, meaning that we would never forgo our principles or values in order to please the other person or to tell them what we think they want to hear. And that we promised that even if it was as clunky as fuck, that we would lean into that edge to speak our truth. So never at any point would there be seeds of resentment that grew in the relationship, because we just love each other too much to let that happen. And we've done it too many times in the past to allow it to happen in the now.
And Kel doesn't mean we've done it to each other in the past. We've done it with everybody else.
Yes.
So I am my go-to, I have two go-to trauma responses, and that's one is to people please, and then two, when I get sick of it, I want to fight everyone. I want to argue. So they're my two natural ones, and they're great if they're done in a centered way with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So when I feel myself, I know in myself when I'm about to go into an unsettling fawn, like people pleasing, or I'm about to lose my principles or integrity, I will want to have a bitch about that person. I will want to go, I will want to use them as my scapegoat. Oh, did you see what she or he said? Or and then my scapegoat. The minute I look into scapegoating, I'm like, hang on, I've just lost myself. I've lost my principles. I've lost my values. I've lost my leadership. That's my integrity. So there's some key.
That's such a powerful realization.
Yeah, it's a key time.
And that's where, like, we're talking about leadership. That's the first step in self-leadership, is actually knowing, being able to catch it at the very first step of doing it. Because once that horse is bolted, we're dealing with a completely different thing. But leadership isn't about not making mistakes. Leadership is about knowing that moment you come out of alignment to bring it back in. That is such a powerful realization. So I guess it would be a great question to throw back to our listeners. What is the first thing that you notice you do if you start to drop your integrity, which is what's important to you? I start to, for me, like, just that you brought that into awareness. And the first thing that I notice I do is I start to feel a bit annoyed, like it feels uncomfortable in my body. Like with that person, I feel like my body, here's my two go-tos. I either want to flight, run away, or fawn to communicate. So I feel it first in my body. And that's the first part of inquiry of, like, why am I feeling discomfort? Why is this present?
Yeah, another thing that I get like a certain sense of nervousness.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's like nervousness. So I've just started another business. I tell you, I know this is another thing, but there's a, if you want to create great wealth, you've got to have different streams of income, which we all know. And I just stepped into another business in the last 3 days, and I'm sharing this business with people. But I started getting this nervous feeling about it last night. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I went, I know what it is. Because I know as soon as I get that nervous feeling, something is being compromised with my integrity. So what am I compromising my integrity? I don't know the business well enough yet. But I'm telling people, jump in. And I'm like, oh, that's okay, because I'll learn it. And, you know, my mate Shane, he knows more about it. So I'm like, that's cool. We're an awesome team. But it was interesting. As soon as I came to realization, I went, oh, that's okay, because we're learning it. It's not going to, I'm not going to learn a whole freaking business or company in 3 days. It's going to take me a few months, right? So I'm okay with that. But it's self-regulation. The minute I get that nervousness, or that second I want to use someone as a scapegoat, which can be, by the way, my husband. Oh, look, it could be the kids. Oh, look, they left their dishes out. Oh, for fuck's sake, it's a dish. Put it the fuck away. You're okay. But when I want to look at, and I start wanting to have an argument or blame somebody, I know I'm out of my integrity. So I step it back. And this is the best thing with leadership. Always look at your own patterns of behavior first. Because our patterns of behavior, to be honest, we're completely unaware of 95% of them. 95% of them we're unaware that we're doing. And this is where you want to look at, like, are you broke? Are you losing friends? Are you losing jobs? Are you losing people around you? Or are you fucked up, or whatever it is? You got to look at, stop blaming someone else as your scapegoat. You will not elevate. You won't heal. You won't pull in anything. You'll just sit in the same bullshit, and you'll probably get worse. You've got to look at what behavior of mine or what patterns created this in the first place. And that you will sit there. I mean, it feels like shit.
It does. This isn't the cuddle episode. This is the, like, if you really want change and you really want to know where it starts with the self-leadership, this is that one. You get the cuddle later.
We get the cuddle later, right? But to be honest, it is the most empowering fucking place to sit in. It's super empowering because you already hold the power. We already hold the power. We are born with power. You got to think about it. We're little babies. What's the first thing we do? We breathe in. We receive. We've got every fucker running around after us. We've got the doctor, the midwife, the nurse, the mum, the dad. We've got everyone running around us. We cry, bang, we get fed. We cry, bang, we get a cuddle. We cry, bang, we get everything. We've even got someone wiping our asses for us. Right? Wiping our asses, we have it. And then we are led to believe that we don't have it. And this is why we have long-term illness, long-term pain in our bodies, because that is a conflict. That is a conflict of integrity. Because we know that we hold the power, then we're told we don't have the power. And we're looking for something outside of us to give us the power. But when we sit there and go, how the fuck did I set this shit up? Then that means you're stepping into your power. The minute I sit there and I blame, I don't know, Bob's got my power, and I'm stepping away from my own power. So leadership and integrity go hand in hand.
Yeah, 100%.
Because leadership is power. It's self-power. It's self-regulation. It's like, I need to know who I am. The more I learn about me, the more I learn, here's a big one. The more I learn about me, the more I learn about universal laws, because we are universal laws.
Yeah.
We are the universe.
Yeah. There's a beautiful saying that I really love with this one. And there are certain principles that they keep getting like deeper and deeper layers of. And the universal law is as above, so below, as within, so without. Meaning, anything that is within me, I create external to me. The problem is never external. It's always starting within. And if I can find that little chestnut of whatever it is that's having me create my external environment that way, then the whole paradigm changes. The whole fabrics of reality alter. And we are literally the creation of heaven on earth, because we are streaming higher consciousness through us, and our expression of it is the creation of heaven on earth. So that is the as above, so below. So when we're looking at this, like if we're finding ourselves continuously coming up against a relational issue within business, so whether this be management of team, or whether this be a certain dynamic that keeps playing out with a client, and usually when we're looking at like stuff going on with team and client dealing with other people, then we start looking at attachment styles, and then we start looking at the childhood trauma wounding, wish it was warming.
I wish it was more. It's so much easier.
Freudian slip. But then we start looking at our childhood wounding and the sort of attachment styles and the relating that went on in our childhood, because unless we've done the inner work, so the self-leadership work around changing those dynamics, we just go find other playgrounds to play that out with, because as within, so without. And we literally just keep recreating this dynamic for us to play out and resolve. So if there is a constant pattern that you're like, oh, you know what, maybe it was playing out in relationship, got rid of that partner, they weren't very good, but then all of a sudden that same thing starts popping up everywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it wasn't so much the partner, maybe there could be something going on within. And this is where takes that question of like, really, what is leadership and what is integrity to the next level, because you really have to be able to lead, you need to know what's important to you. And you touched on this a little bit earlier, Em, about, you know, like when it comes to integrity, you need to know what your hard no's are, like where your boundaries are. And you also need to really know what's clearly important to you, because if you don't know what's really important to you and what your truth is, how do you know what's a fuck yes? Because until then, you could just be running on what other people's ideas of success are, ideas of happiness are, ideas of doing well might be. And so this is where, like, if you really want to strengthen that integrity muscle and really strengthen that leadership muscle, because leadership isn't just in business, it's also how do you show up as a parent, how do you show up as a friend, how do you show up as somebody in your community, how do you show up for you. And this is where, like, the clearer that you can get on what's important to you, and when I say that was really important to you, after you go ask yourself the question, is that really important? Because if you start asking that question, you go beyond the reflex action of what you've been told to believe is important. And
that's huge, because I mean, most of the people know listening here, I mean, I'm 51, and when I was 44, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, optic neuritis, all of those things. And I look back, I mean, I've always been such a fawner, like proper people pleaser. So much so that I didn't know what color I liked. I didn't know what kind of food I liked, because whatever you liked, I liked it. And it's really been in the last 3 years, because I stopped drinking 3 years ago and taking any extracurricular fun stuff. No, it wasn't fun, kids. It was horrendous. It's bullshit. So much
fun. Down was horrendous.
So much fun. Anyway, I have more fun now being present and sober, to be honest, to be completely honest. But the thing is this. The last 3 years, I've really had to find out who I am. And I'm going to give you a red hot tip to all the listeners who sit there and go, I don't really know who I am. That's okay. Because the journey of finding it out is fucking awesome. It's awesome. It's clunky. It's weird. But I want you to know you're not alone. And it's fucking cool as shit to find out who you really are.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go, I don't think I'm that person. I don't think I want to be who you are. And this is something that happened to me very recently. I've made a lot of money in the last 3 years, and I bought a lot of property. So we've been really badly affected by the floods here in Victoria. Like Queensland one as well, New South Wales as well. And I've lost 2 properties. And these properties were the place that I bought for my families and my little haven. And there were 2 little cabins. They weren't much. They weren't really great or pretty. They were very, very average. And I used to actually hold a bit of shame around them, because I was thinking, well, people, you know, I've got to have this Taj Mahal kind of place for people to realize I've made money. Now that I've let it, we don't have them anymore. They've gone. They got swept away. And this is the thing. It wasn't about what they looked like. It was how they made me feel. And I really miss them. So this is the learning about my integrity, because I thought I had to have the certain car or the certain look or the certain bag to be integrity with the amount of money I'm earning and what people think that I should be wearing and looking like and doing. So now I look back, 2020, I bought myself a Mercedes, you know, like rag top. It's a convertible Mercedes. It's fucking sexy as shit. I felt sick buying it. Bought myself a Louis Vuitton handbag. I was too scared to use it. Why? Because I was out of integrity.
Wow, I did not know this.
Yes, I bought them because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do when I have this money. But really what I want to do, that I have this money, I want to experience the world. I want to travel. I want to create experiences for other people. I want to have more time to mentor women and men. You know, that's now I'm sitting in my integrity. It feels good. Yeah. But back then I just thought, I just got this thing. I can't celebrate me. It wasn't about that at all.
Celebrating the wrong way.
Yes. So, you know, for those sitting there going, you know, I want to learn about myself, it's going to be weird and clunky and all kinds of fucked up, and it's cool. It's okay. Because what I did in 2020, I needed that for my growth for 2022. You know, it's all part of the journey. I needed to do that so I could learn today, so I could share it here.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about self-leadership, right? Because we're just going to keep referencing it back to self-leadership, because this take out and do it everywhere. What you do in one space, you will do in every space. So there's none. And if you are kind of like you're one person behind when nobody's watching versus when everybody's watching, that in itself is a gap that I would highly invite you to explore, to bridge that gap, because that's just unsustainable. But if we're working off the principle of what you do in one space is what you're going to do in every space, in this journey of self-discovery and self-leadership, you'll actually, like what happened with Em, it is the most perfect example of what it really means to discover yourself and find yourself and what's important. Because until, and particularly if you've had strong people pleasing programs like both Em and I have had, like that fawning trauma response to danger, is that we've taken on so many jackets that we think we need to be or do to survive in a world that has been very chaotic. And so every time we take off one of those, sometimes we've been doing this for so long, you think it's you. And it's not until you take off the jacket and you do something like buy the car you think you should be buying, or buy the bag you think you should be buying, that you have that funny feeling and you go into that self-inquiry of like, hang on, what's going on here? Well, if that isn't what makes me feel good, what does? And that's where you can have that little course correction. And if you think about this from sort of like a bigger perspective, if you were to send a rocket into outer space, if that thing changes its trajectory by even 2 degrees, it's going to end up in a completely different spot. And with this stuff, this self-leadership, it's not about getting it right the first time. Like there's no fun in that. If we all arrived here and we could completely remember, there would be no fun in this whole self-exploration. It would be boring. We'd be back, we'd ascend and we'd be back into the collective consciousness of everything and nothing and be like, no, well, what was the purpose of that? Part of the fun of this and discovering who you are is doing things like this, because now you know Em. Like, you know, it's important to you. I have little things all the time where like, I think I'm okay with something, or I think something excites me. And I don't know until I've done it that there was even a boundary there where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I didn't like, why is that a boundary? Why did I miss that? And particularly if you're putting yourself into, and this is something Em and I do all the time, throw ourselves wildly into experiences and things that we've got no reference points to.
Constantly.
Constantly, but you're going to find these little things, and it's not about like coming down on yourself really hard about it. And even like it's about allowing yourself to have that curiosity and exploration. Like even if I look, so that's self-exploration. Let's look at this, how this shows up in business. So right now in my business, I have 2 brokers that do most of the business writing for me. There's the role that I do with managing all of the referral partners. I've just started bringing another person into my business to now manage that, so I can step back and keep growing and scaling. But before I got to this part where I've actually got my team running like a really well-oiled machine and I hired the right people, I had some spectacular disasters at hiring the wrong people. And this was when I had a high fawn program running. So yes, there's the people pleasing aspect, but then I also had the other aspect is where I love to rescue and I love to hero and I love to save. Like, oh my God, did I used to get my kicks out of that. The first person I hired was a single mum who lived an hour and a half away from where I live, who was driving an hour and a half every day to do training. And I was doing like paying her off books so she could still keep her Centrelink while she was training, because I wanted to help her because she was a single mom and I wanted to give her an opportunity. And even though my intentions were really honorable, it was a fucking spectacular disaster.
Yep.
And just the pure distance she had to travel for training. Then there was traffic and there was just all kinds of stuff. It was just wrong. It was so like, if I could do that one again, I just wouldn't have hired that person. Then, because I didn't learn the lesson well enough the first time, guess who hired another single mum with a 1-year-old, maybe not, yeah, 1-year-old baby. The second time, this one actually had the skills of knowing how to be a broker, but didn't, but again, the same thing. Oh, you know, you've got the skills. It should be pretty easy. I can help you. Like it'll work. No, another fucking spectacular disaster. There were always dramas because I wasn't calling in a person that was actually fully aligned to the role, that was looking for, like, that all the values were aligned. I was still looking for somebody unconsciously that I could rescue, save, be the hero in their story.
Yeah.
Which was not great for my business at all. It cost me so much time and it cost me so much money, until, like, I had to do it twice to learn that lesson, to have a really fucking hard line of getting really clear on the type of who the person needs to be and the kind of skill set and mindset they need to have to be able to thrive in the role. So like the second time round, the skills were there, but the mindset and everything else that was underneath it, and then also just the environmental factor that they had was not supportive of the role I needed them to do. And it was a disaster. And I've recently had, because I'm at the point now, probably within the next 3 to 6 months, I'll be looking at hiring another broker. I've already had a very capable person approach me and say, hey, love to work for you. I can see what you're doing with your team and how you guys operate. Spending half an hour with you, I can like feel your values and what you offer. Really want to work for you. Let me know when you're going to hire again, because I'd like to. And I'm literally still going through the process of scanning her field. Like, is this actually the right role? And is what she wanting with where she's wanting to go with her life, is this not going to quite fit there? And is that going to be the right fit for my business with what I'm looking for long term? But I wouldn't have the level of discernment and I wouldn't have the level of awareness unless, one, I'd made the mistakes, two, continually done the inner work so that I stopped attracting the wrong kind of people, because now I attract such high quality people, so much so that the most recent one that's come to me, I think, is actually overqualified for what I need them to do. And so this is where, like, the more that you do the inner work and the inner leadership, you don't need to go looking for the people. They will just magically manifest around you because you're a vibrational match. And you still have to really know clearly what's important to you, what your hard no's are, and then also have the willingness and curiosity to like explore over those boundaries. And even still, like, I recently had, on a personal level, this was the event, so I've just come out of Gabby Kowalski's Codes of Abundance event. It was an amazing 3-day experience, and I've had this cycle going on with money since probably I'd say December, maybe like February of this year, where I've been like kind of treading water and not chasing my tail, but just treading water, not going forward, not going back, and everything's just ticking along, but not really going anywhere. And I'm like, what the fuck is this about? And it kind of like 1 month where it goes down, and I'm like, well, okay. And then the next month goes up, but it's just kind of coming out even. And I'm like, why does this feel like I have to solve this like big problem? And I've recently implemented a big change in my business. It's just catapulted its growth and a capacity to receive abundance exponentially. And I've been on this like kind of high thrill about it and feeling very clever that I've solved this problem. And what came out of it, when I was looking at the self-inquiry, I'm like, I don't understand why I go around, like why I go on these cycles. And I had like and where my money barometer is, like when I say money barometer, I'm talking about the amount that you feel comfortable within your bank account at any time. So some people, that might be, as soon as they get to 100,000 in their buffer, they get really uncomfortable and do something about it. Some people might be 20 grand, others will be zero, others will be negative, like where that barometer is. And because I've noticed mine go up and then back down, and up. I'm like, fuck, why can't I figure this out? Turns out, so yes, I did all that work last year about unplugging from my addictions and recalibrating my nervous system. Guess where I've been trying to get my high and my thrill?
Ooh, money, girl.
Yeah. So because I'm no longer playing out those chaotic cycles in my day-to-day life, that little part of me that likes that thrill, drama, excitement, chasing the high has gone and put that in my business. I'm like, no, thank you.
That's huge.
Right? Fucking huge. And I was like, oh my God. But even more so, not only am I creating the drama, so this is the self-leadership part. I keep putting myself through this cycle to, one, create the high and the thrill of the chase and solving the problem and challenge, but to also avoid intimacy and relationship. Because if I'm too busy in my business, then I don't have to go into the relationship space.
Oh, babe, this is massive.
Right? So looking at this, like, this is where this self-leadership piece comes in, like that constant inquiry. And it's never what you think it is.
Oh, fucking never. Yeah, big top tip. What you think it is, it's wrong. It's something else. Kel, I love that you're sharing this. This is huge.
So huge. And then again, like, think about, like, not only, well, and then let's look at how this pattern then. So great. So, all right, I've noticed this pattern within me. It's playing out within my business. It's not just affecting me. It's affecting the capacity that my staff can make, like the income that they're making, because I'm the head of the snake, right? So what me is what ripples out. It's affecting how my referral partners are sending business through, which means it's affecting how quickly they're getting paid in full for their clients, because I want to go on this thrill high ride and avoid intimacy. Like, fuck. So this is like, when you look at the ripple out effect, I'm like, I have such a desire to sort this shit out and have a peaceful relationship with money, and to really resolve whatever part of me this is that still wants to have that thrill, and move into that intimacy space with grace, because it doesn't just affect me. There's a huge ripple out effect that's indirectly affecting.
You know, I love this. And this is all about leadership and integrity. This is exactly what we're talking about here. So if any of those, and everyone who's listening to this is a leader in some way. You all are. You're a leader in your own life. You're a leader, you know, if you're a mom and dad, whatever, you know, friend, you're a leader in some way. And ask yourself this. I think this might be a really easy way to find something out. Whatever is fucking up in your life, ask yourself this. What is this really distracting me from? Just ask yourself that. What's this distracting me from? What's this sparkly thing over here that I'm freaking out about, stopping me from looking at over here? Because that's what your unconscious mind does. Our unconscious mind will do things to keep us very fucking safe. I mean, it's not always the right thing. It's kind of shit. But the unconscious mind is dumb as fuck, really. Like,
better ways to keep you safe. There are better ways for me to meet that need, excitement and adventure. And
you know what I mean? Like, go travel, come to Egypt with me. But it's so much more exciting. It is so true. It's so crazy of what we actually do to set ourselves up. Like, everyone listen to this. You want to get a pen and paper and just sit there and go, what am I leading myself into? What am I actually leading myself into? And there'll be two answers to it. One will be, I'm leading myself into abundance and a great place. Now, what are you really leading yourself into? What are your patterns? What's your behavior leading you into? Because if you're sitting there going, I want a great life, I want abundance, and I want the, you know, the greater relationship, and then in other words going, oh, but I don't know if I can get that this year. You're not leading yourself into it. You just fucked it up. So what are you talking yourself out of? You know, that's a huge one. I've got a client at the moment, Kel. She does this a lot. She's a beautiful woman. Gosh, she's incredible at what she does. But she'll say, oh, I saw a client the other day and I did a great job, but I could have done this. And I'm like, you keep talking yourself out of your greatness.
Yeah.
I go, fuck, it's annoying. And she said, what do you mean? I said, it's like, what do you need from me? Do you need me to keep telling you you're great? Why do you keep doing it? Because I'm getting really sick of having to remind you. Like, it's annoying me now. Like I'm now thinking that maybe you're not great because you're convincing me otherwise. And she's like, holy shit. I said, well, who else are you convincing? How busy are you? She goes, I'm not busy. Well, who did you convince that you weren't good? You know, that's what we need to do. Like, if you don't have the money, or if you don't have the dream job or dream career, if you don't have that relationship you want, or the body you want, or whatever, the health that you want, well, how did you lead yourself into this situation? And that's when you got to ask yourself, how did I lead myself into this situation? And the reason people are in pain is because they are out of integrity. It's like, you get pain in your back, that's a values conflict. That's what integrity is your values. It's your principles.
Yeah, and on your spine, your backbone.
100%. Like, anybody's got any pain on their back more than 3 months, you're at, like, have a look and go, where am I sitting out of my values? Where am I not doing what I want to do? Or where am I giving away too much of what I want to give away? And the thing is, if you sit there and then go, oh, yes, it's my husband, he's an asshole, he's getting everything, you just fucked it up. Because now he's your scapegoat, which means you've just allowed your power over. If your husband's draining the shit out of you, or someone you know is draining you, just say, how did I set that up? When did I keep saying yes to them being able to drain my energy? Where do I say yes to it? And that's leadership and integrity. That's power right there. Because it always comes back to self.
Yeah.
Always comes back to self.
Yeah. Leadership is not the big moments. Leadership, if you want to sum leadership up in a sentence, this is how I think about leadership. Who are you when nobody is watching?
Yes, and that's when leadership happens. It's when no one's fucking watching. It's not, it's so true. I love that, Kel. People go, oh, like Kelly and I are great leaders. We're doing podcasts, we'll speak in public, we're running retreats, we run workshops, we do big events, things like that. That's not when we're leading.
No.
That's not it. It's in the background when we're on our fucking asses, crying our eyes out, going, what's fucking next? That's the leadership. It's when we look into our own patterns. Looking into your own behaviors sucks balls, man. Like, it sucks. It's horrible. It's confronting to the self, and the unconscious mind doesn't want you to do it.
No, it'll hide it. Like when I was talking about this, so Em and I did a podcast maybe like 2 or 3 episodes ago talking about secondary gains. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but I know we're talking about secondary gains. Like, what are you really getting out of something? It might have been, are you addicted to being fucked up? It might have been that one. But how I found this pattern, I knew I had this problem. Like, I knew that I was the one about like chasing the thrill of the high, like what was going on with my money. I know there's been a problem there. And I have been like asking myself, like, what am I missing? Like, if I was to see it, like what is going on here? And I've been February to October. What's that? 8 months. 8 months I've been on self-inquiry about this. And like, trust me, I've been working with lots of people. You've also got to get to, sometimes the pattern won't drop in until you're ready to receive it, to do something about it. So, but the journey that I went through just to get to that point, to gain that bit of information about myself, fuck me, the last few months. Anyway.
I agree.
That one blew my hair right back.
Holy shit. Yes.
But if there is a pattern that you're stuck on where you know you keep creating it, that episode was really great. What I did, like the 2 questions that I was asked in that. Okay, so one, like the first one that I was looking at was, you know, where are my minimum standards with money? Where does the thing always drop down to? When it drops, where does it drop down to? Where does it drop down to in cash in my bank account? Where does it drop on my credit cards? Like, what is my, like with my loans and stuff, where are they at? And then the question was like, what do I gain from having this? What am I gaining out of it? And I had real superficial things: tax breaks, instant gratification, education, growth, like, you know, all positive things. And it's like, that's not it. But I was so oblivious to it, and I knew I was oblivious. So I actually, like, it was great that I was at the event, that I got support with it. But like, if this is something that you're sitting with, if there is a big pattern that you know that's stopping you from that inner leadership, that'll have a complete ripple and transference effect out of it, like, this is what Em and I specialize in. Get in contact with it. Like, I know, Em, you've got your own mentoring program that you work with people to literally help them shift through their abundance blocks, to help them, like, move this kind of stuff, like this level of leadership. Like, in terms of integrity with leadership, you're one of the best.
Thanks, my love. There is a little story I just want to tell you guys before we go. And I was going to share it. So, you know, I teach family freedom protocol, masters and all that. And we just had masters and retreats, a live-in retreat. Had 12 women, beautiful women live, and like 4 from overseas coming on Zoom. And I pay for the accommodation. I just pop in and pop out, like, as in I teach in the house, pop out. And I've just heard today that there was a particular beautiful woman that at the evening she was talking about conspiracy theories, and it really frightened some of the girls. And when you step into my containerships, you get one-to-one mentoring from my experts and from me as well. And I just had a meeting with my coaching team, is mentoring. They said, yes, this came up a lot. They were quite upset with this girl. And I went, actually, they're not upset with this girl. They're upset that they went against their own principles and allowed it to soak in, and they accepted it. I said, did anybody tell her, hey, I don't want to hear about it? No, they didn't. That's against their own principles. Did anybody say, you know what, that's great that you got that opinion. I'm not soaking that in. Did anyone say that? No, they didn't say that. I said, so they're not upset with the woman who said it because that's their scapegoat. What they've got to look at, why didn't I sit in my integrity and say, great conversation for another time, not for me. And this is where you have to ask yourself, is what am I saying or what am I receiving elevating me, or is it fucking me up? And that's the easiest way to find out with your integrity or not.
Yeah. And this is being custodians of our environment, our external environment and our internal environment, because as above, so below, as within, so without. Whatever's going on out there, if we let it in here, we're going to recreate it.
Yes,
we have to be custodians that our environment supports our inner world. And particularly when you start this work and you really go into these deeper levels of self-leadership and unpacking it, or even bigger in business, like I am so particular about who I let within my business space, whether it now, because I know what it costs to hire the wrong person, from time, money, energy, relationships. I also know, like, even just in terms of people coming into my business that I support with finance, like, I'm making sure that they get results for their clients. I don't want to be backing anybody that's great on the front end marketing, but shitty delivery of the product. That's out of integrity with my values. So I need to make sure all of that's aligned. Like, I am so particular, whichever environment I'm in, that I'm really protective of it, because that's what nourishes me. And that example that Em gave is perfect, because anytime that I don't feel good, it's because I've betrayed myself.
Yes, that's what it is. It's betrayal. It's self-betrayal.
Myself. I allowed that to happen. And again, like, this is, and also too, like, this is where the self-compassion comes into this, because sometimes we don't know. And if we've got some fawning trauma, meaning that we people please to make others happy or to keep not rock the boat in the environment, it's going to be really hard to say, hey, great conversation for another time. That could literally feel like you're going against every bone of your being to honor that. But that's where the self-leadership comes in. Self-leadership isn't doing the things that feels good. Self-leadership is doing the things you know is good for you, often when it doesn't feel good.
Exactly. 100%. And you know what? I think we need to do a podcast on being a professional compared to being, I've forgotten the other word, an amateur.
Yeah.
I think we do. My loves, we have loved this podcast today. Thank you so much for being here. We love you. We love doing this. We just fucking love it. Always let us know what you what you wanna hear. It helps us out to know what you want, you know, and we don't have to think of shit.
Selfish gain in that. But it also, like, this was always so that yes, we talk about what's inspiring us, and it's always been a show for you. Our greatest intention is to help you, serve you, to live greater, more fulfilled, more impactful lives.
So let us be your hero. Let us be your hero and tell us what you want from us. Is this what we break out in a song, Kel?
Could be.
Yeah.
We're going to the outro.
All right, my loves. We will see you. Please, please, please chat to us on Inspired Conversations in our private or in our group.
Yeah, share us around. We're an unpaid show, so the more you share us, the more eyes that get served. Yes. And no, that's totally cool too. We love you anyways.
Well, I could love you more if you shared. I don't want to say that. All right, my loves, have a great day, and we'll see you next podcast. Mwah!
Mwah.